The tree that would grow to heaven must send its roots to hell. That's a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. And if I were to put that concept into completely different terms, it basically means life isn't always easy sailing, but if you're willing to go through a rough ride and take the right risks and accept certain experiences for what they are, you can propel yourself to limitless places and accomplishments. And maybe you should think, are you a cup half full type of person or a cup half empty type of person? Because in order for us to really define what we really want, in order for us to really define what's important for us, to establish certain preferences in life, we have to experience a lot of good and negative things. And if we really want to gain insights into things that could be of value to us, then sometimes that means we have to experience certain situations that shake us up and really expand our latitude of thinking and our ability to focus in different ways and also understand ourselves. Few things are as difficult as going through any type of encounter, rendezvous, relationship, whatever, with somebody where their intentions were clearly egocentric and it was clear they were using you for personal gain at your expense, knowingly. Because that's what manipulation is all about. When people try to get you to conform to something that suits them, that's at your detriment. But they're good at selling it in a way as almost as if it's something that would benefit you as well. And it's not just when you're going through an encounter with somebody who teaches you these tough lessons that you have to go through the motions of learning from that, bouncing out of it. What you often find is these people sometimes don't want to let you go because their egos become dependent on you. So maybe it's been somebody that you've been supporting in certain ways, maybe giving them attention in certain ways, maybe simply their association with you, even if it's a weak link, but they still have to maintain that. Sometimes you find, you know what, you're done with this person, you don't want to deal with this person anymore. But it's almost like they're not done with you. It's like, fine, you know, if you used to admire somebody, if you used to respect somebody, if you used to wholeheartedly wish somebody the best and want them in your life, and you no longer feel any of that, then nobody can change that. Nobody can make you put them on that pedestal maybe that you once put them on. But it's around just moving on with your life, and it's around proceeding with the things that are good for you. And that's where these people sometimes can't accept that. It's like their egos become too dependent on you. And their ego basically says, if they can't have you praising them, worshiping them, feeding them positive ego strokes, then they must find a way for you to feed them negative ego strokes, because you not being in the picture is just not palatable to them. And of course, sometimes if somebody has manipulated you, if somebody has used you for personal gain, you reach that point where you don't want anything more to do with them. But those very same people who push you away, those very same people who hurt you, who lie to you, who betray you, and so on, they push you away really hard, are also the very same people who won't let you go, who won't let you move on, because they suffer too much of a vacuum and their ego doesn't know how to deal with it. You know, they they convince themselves that in some way they still own you, they still possess you, they still have leverage over you, you still owe them something. And if there's nothing clear they can grasp there, their mind plays all kinds of mental gymnastics to somehow make you out to be the bad person. And then they have this kind of license or free card to smear you and talk bad about you to other people, talk bad about you to maybe people who are very close to you. Could even be your family. Your children, could be your parents, and for them, it's fully justified. And there's no reasoning there to justify that. It's really a matter of, if you are completely absent in their life, if you move on and you wish for them to move on, it's too much of an injury. Like, how can you not need them anymore? How can you, it doesn't matter how hard they pushed you away, how much they pushed you and hurt you to make you distant. They still can't accept when you move on. They still can't accept when you're past that. And they keep trying to reel you back in. They keep trying to get those emotional reactions out of you. They keep trying to hurt you. They keep trying to confuse you. Their ego is suffocated. And it's really survival mechanisms at play. And of course, if you go through that for the first time, it can be very confusing, because sometimes you can have some kind of relationship with somebody. It can be like a lifelong relationship with somebody in your family, or a 10-year romantic relationship, and something happens, and both people decide, this really isn't working. We're kind of going to keep our distance, go our own ways, and that's fine. But then you can have someone who never played such an important part of your life, but who hurt you, lied to you, betrayed you, pushed you away, and then when you took the distance, they just can't accept it. And the fact that they can't accept it, it keeps playing itself out again and again. And then you become confused, like, why is this person who didn't allow me to stay in their life, they're also not letting me not be part of their life. They're pulling me back in. And again, it goes down to the fact that certain people with certain personality disorders, like narcissistic personality disorder, they either want to see you dependent on them, or they want to see you hurting because of them. It can take them a long, long time, like many years sometimes, for them to fully accept that you've moved on. Because if you move on, they can't really move on. If you move on, they are injured. They can only move on if you're hurting. If you're not hurting, then even if they have other things going on, the injury is just too, the pain is too vivid for them. They can't simply ignore it. So they have to act upon it. They have to retaliate, even if you're not doing anything to them. It's because they don't want to feel that pain by themselves. The pain they feel, because when you accept that they don't want you, your acceptance for them is like a betrayal. And then it's almost like they have to punish you. They have to punish you for accepting their punishment, which was to push you away without reason. And it's like, you can never really get under the skin of the mental gymnastics that goes on. But what it does, it teaches you the depths of, the disorder. It teaches you the depths of the pain and self-loathing that certain people feel. And it teaches you the extent to which certain people will go to try to hurt you, to try to confuse you, to try to smear you, try to isolate you, even when you are not the one to have instigated anything. And, going back to this whole point around learning about yourself, your boundaries, learning about other people, learning about, um, personal resilience, keeping your cool, acceptance, and all these positive attributes. Like once you go through a full cycle like that, you come out the other end. If you just don't ruminate, of course, incessantly, but you come out the other end almost like a superhuman, because other people later in life, sometimes people might disagree with you, might be a bit, they might unfairly judge you, unfairly criticize you, but none of that really bothers you so much. Like once you've been through a full cycle with somebody who went at all length to try to hurt you and destroy you and all that kind of stuff, and then you just kind of went through the cycle and you're out of it, and then you face day-to-day problems, and sometimes those day-to-day problems, the old you would find those things challenging. The new you, it's like the things barely bother you. It's like a mosquito on your arm, something relatively minor, because you've learned to thicken your skin. You've learned resilience, but in a good way. You have thick skin, but in a good way. You have resilience in a good way. You've become more confident in yourself in a good way. You've come to learn that when people are unfair towards you, it shows the depths of their own problems. And the more people play mental gymnastics to try to sabotage you or manipulate you or hurt you, that's completely correlated with the depths of their own inner pain, their own self-hatred or self-loathing that they struggle to process. And obviously, these things usually go back to trauma they experienced when they were younger. So it's really easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you're going through a certain type of situation for the first time, if it feels like it's unfair. But when you come out the other end, or if you're in the middle of it, and you can all of a sudden come across people who can, give you good insights and guidance, then you find yourself understanding, and you also find yourself becoming a more powerful version of yourself. Because that new version of you will have stronger boundaries, will have better understanding, will be more resilient. You'll understand that when people unfairly judge you, when people unfairly criticize you, when people unfairly try to hurt you, or do 100 other things that are not good, it's a reflection of them and not you. And importantly, if people do try to hurt you in that way, it's because they envy you. There's something about you that they don't have that makes them feel lacking, that makes them feel less than. And of course, you shouldn't try to think of that in any kind of competitive way, like, oh, you're better than them. But it just helps you understand that it's about them. It's not about you. And the stronger version of you that you become, of course, it just equips you to go out and conquer so many things that you might want, because you're this more resilient personality. And that's the way you should bounce out of these things. Understanding where people are coming from, understanding that people have their own problems. You are not the center of the universe. You are not the center of the world. I am not the center of the world. Sometimes I may say or do something that's wrong and people call me out for it. That's fair. But when people try to hurt you, try to confuse you because of their own struggles. That has nothing to do with you. That is completely about them. Maybe they saw you as a soft target because you have certain things that they want that kind of triggers them a bit more, but it's their problems. But like I said, sometimes you have to go through these very confusing, unfair situations that persist longer than any normal situation should, for you to elevate, yourself, create that elevated understanding, resilience, acceptance, confidence. And not only will you never let something like that happen again, or at least you'll never take it personally again, because that's really it. You take it in personally, right? So not only will you not take these things personally again, but you'll be that much better to go out and try to conquer anything that's important to you, because you have that much better baggage to take with you.